Welcome back to the show, everyone. We are going to explore something that, it comes up in almost every new conversation you have.
It really does. It's one of those universal
We're
topics.
talking about work, specifically how to talk about your job in English confidently and, clearly.
That's right. Because it's not just about a job title. It's about explaining a huge part of your life,
Right.
what you do, what you've achieved.
Exactly. So let's use our remix rule to set the scene. Imagine you've just joined a book club.
Okay, I like it.
You're all sitting around talking about the book, but then the conversation starts to wander. Someone
Yeah.
turns to you and asks that one question, the one they always ask.
Ah, yes. So what do you do for a living?
Exactly. And for so many of our listeners, that moment can be a little stressful. You know your job inside and out in your own language, but finding the right words in English, can feel like a pop quiz.
It really can. And our goal today is to take all that stress away. We want to give you the building blocks, the phrases, so that when someone asks, you feel proud and ready to share.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we're going to cover the absolute essentials. How to describe what your job is right now.
Mm-hmm. Your title, your main tasks.
Then we'll get into your daily routine, what your day actually looks like from start to finish.
After that, we'll explore the workplace itself, the location, the atmosphere, the people.
And finally, we'll talk about the bigger picture, your career journey. That means your past jobs and, of course, your future dreams.
It's all about practical, useful phrases. So let's start at the very beginning, defining what you do.
Okay, so that big question, what do you do? What's the fastest, clearest way to start an answer?
The foundation is always your job title. It's the simplest and most direct piece of information. There are two great ways to say it.
And the first one is probably the most common, right?
Yeah, exactly. You just say, I'm a car, and then your job title. I'm a carpenter. I'm a dentist. Super simple.
Okay, I'm a carpenter. Got it. What's the other option?
The other one is just slightly different. You say, I work as a SIC, so I work as an engineer, or I work as a financial analyst.
So is there really a difference between I'm a and I work as a fic?
That's a great question. I mean, you can use them pretty much interchangeably. And sometimes I work as a focuses a little more on the action of the job itself.
Oh, I see. So I'm an artist might be about my identity, but I work as an artist is about my profession.
Precisely. It's a very subtle difference, but it's there.
Yeah.
Either one is perfectly fine to use.
Okay, but just saying I'm a writer doesn't tell you very much. I could be writing novels or computer code or, I don't know, advertisements.
Right. That's where you add the next layer. You talk about where you work. And you don't always need to say the exact company name, especially not at a book club.
So what do you say instead?
You describe the type of place. You could talk about the size. Like, I work for a large international company, or maybe I work for a small local bakery.
That gives so much more context. Or you could talk about the industry, right? Like,
Yeah,
I work for a nonprofit organization or I work for a tech startup.
exactly. A manager at a small local shop and a manager at a huge corporation are two very different jobs. That context is key.
Now, we absolutely have to talk about a really common situation today. What if you don't work for a company?
Ah, yes. The magic phrase everyone needs to know is, I'm self-employed.
What does that really mean to be self-employed?
It means you're your own boss. Simple as that. You don't have one single employer who pays you a salary. You might have lots of different customers or clients.
Right. And there's another word for that, isn't there? Something like freelancer?
Yes. You can also say, I work as a freelancer. It's very common for writers, designers, developers, people who work on a project-by-project basis.
Okay, that's super helpful. So we have the title and the place. But if I say I'm a consultant, you still have no idea what I actually do all day.
And that brings us to the most important part, talking about your responsibilities.
Yeah.
This is where you use strong, action-focused verbs.
Let's start with a really powerful one that shows leadership. The phrase, I manage.
This is a great one, and it's so flexible. You can manage people. For example, I manage a team of 5 software developers.
Or you can manage things, not people.
Absolutely. You could say, I manage the entire store inventory and purchasing. Or you could manage a process like, I manage the social media marketing campaigns.
So using the word manage immediately tells the other person you have some kind of authority or control.
It does. It shows responsibility. And speaking of that, you can also talk about who you report to.
Oh, that's a good one. How do you say that professionally?
You could say, I report directly to the CEO, or I report to the regional manager. It just means that's your direct boss.
Okay, let's switch gears. What if your job is more about helping people? What's a good phrase for that?
For any customer-facing role, you can use I help customers. But the key is to be specific.
Right, so not just I help customers.
No, that's too general. Be more specific. Like, I help customers troubleshoot technical issues by phone. Or, I help customers choose the right mortgage plan. The detail makes it so much clearer.
Now, what's the phrase that sounds the most professional and official?
That would have to be, I'm responsible for.
What does that really signal when you say that?
When you say I'm responsible for something, you're saying it is your official duty. The success or failure of that task is on you. It shows real ownership.
Can you give us a few examples from different jobs, just to make it really clear?
Of course. Let's take a tech job. You could say, I'm responsible for ensuring all data security protocols are followed.
Okay. What about, say, a restaurant manager?
For them, it could be, I'm responsible for the timely preparation and delivery of all catering orders.
And maybe one more, something in a factory setting.
Sure. I'm responsible for the quality control of all finished metal components leaving the factory. See how it sounds so official?
It really does. It's a very confident phrase. Now, what if you want to talk about just one thing? The single most important part of your job.
For that, you use the phrase, my main task is. This is perfect for cutting through all the small details and getting to the core of what you do.
So, like, an office administrator has 100 different tasks. Phone calls, emails, scheduling.
Exactly. But they could say, my main task is to organize and maintain patient records to ensure compliance. That one sentence tells you their primary value.
That's really powerful. Now, I have a question. What if I help customers sounds a little too simple for a senior role, like a high-level consultant?
That is a fantastic point. This is where you can elevate your verb. You keep the sentence simple, but you choose a more powerful word.
So instead of I help, what could you say?
You could say, I advise clients on, or I consult on complex issues related to, or even I develop strategies for.
Ah, so the structure is still simple, but the verb itself carries more weight. I develop strategies for marketing sounds much more advanced than I help with marketing.
Precisely. You're using simple English to talk about a very complex professional skill.
This is all so useful. So for everyone listening, just take a second right now. Pause if you need to. Try to describe your job in just 2 sentences. Use your title, where you work, and one of these powerful responsibility phrases.
Yes, say it out loud. It really helps make it stick.
Okay, so now we have a really clear idea of what you do. Let's move on to the rhythm of the job, the daily routine. How do you explain the music of your workday?
I love that you called it music. I like to think of your daily routine as the daily symphony.
A symphony. Tell me more.
Well, every morning the music starts. You have different instruments, your email, your team meetings, your focused work, and you have to conduct them all in the right order to create a productive day. Your routine is your sheet music.
That's a great way to think about it. So let's start with the basics of that symphony, the timing.
Right. You need simple phrases for when the music begins and ends. The most common is, I start work at 9 a.m. and I finish at 5 p.m. Simple, clear, perfect.
But, not everyone works 9 to 5. What about people who work shifts or have weird hours?
You can just say what kind of shift you work. For example, I work the night shift, so I start at 10 p.m. and finish at 6 a.m.
Or if your schedule is always changing.
Then you could say, my schedule varies, but I usually work 8 hours a day. That gives the general idea without getting too complicated.
Okay, so once we have the time set, we need to talk about the actual movements in the symphony. What happens during the day?
For most office jobs, The day begins with communication. You can use sequence words like first, then, and after that to tell the story.
So something like, first, I check my emails and prioritize my list of tasks.
Exactly. Or every morning I attend a short stand-up meeting with my team to discuss what we are doing today.
A stand-up meeting. That's a good piece of business English to know. It basically means a quick, focused meeting, right?
Yes, the idea is that if everyone is standing, the meeting won't go on for too long. It's about efficiency.
So after the morning communication, what comes next?
That's usually when the main work happens. You can say something like, then I work on my core projects and tasks until the lunch break at 1 p.m. This signals that big block of focus time.
It helps the person listening visualize your day. Start, talk, focus, break.
And when you describe your day, try to use simple sequential verbs. If you're a baker, for instance, you're not going to talk about meetings.
Right. You'd say what?
You'd say, I wake up very early, prepare the dough, start the oven, bake the bread, and then serve the first customers. Each verb follows the one before it, logically.
You mentioned breaks. Let's talk about that. Work is social, and people are always curious about, the human side of your day.
Absolutely. So you can talk about your breaks. Just say, I usually take a short coffee break in the mid-morning, or I take a full hour for lunch.
And we should definitely talk about the word colleague.
Yes. A colleague is just a more professional word for a coworker, someone you work with at the same company.
So it's a bit more formal?
A little bit, yeah. In an email, you might write, please share this with your colleagues. But when you're just chatting, you'd probably say, I'm going to lunch with my coworkers. Knowing both is useful.
Got it. So how do you talk about those social breaks with colleagues?
You could just describe what you do. I usually have lunch with my colleagues in the cafeteria, or we sometimes go for a quick walk to talk and get some fresh air. It adds a really nice personal touch to your description.
Let's try to put all of this together. Let's use our remix rule and create a routine for a job that's maybe a little complex. How about an art gallery curator?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, their daily symphony might sound something like this. My typical daily symphony starts at 10 a.m. First, I review the exhibition schedule and check that all the delicate artwork is properly displayed. Then, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I work on writing descriptions and preparing materials for our upcoming shows. I take a quick 30-minute lunch break, usually alone, to refocus. The afternoon is dedicated to client meetings advising collectors on new purchases. Finally, before I finish at 6 p.m., I make sure the security is set and all administrative tasks are completed.
Wow, that's a fantastic description. It clearly separates the morning prep, the creative work, and the afternoon client work. It tells a full story.
And you see how using simple words like first, then, finally helps guide the listener through the day. It makes it easy to follow.
I have a question I hear a lot from learners. What if your day is just chaos? What if there's no set routine?
That is a very real situation for many people. The trick is to describe it professionally. You don't want to say, my day is a total mess.
So what do you say instead?
You use phrases like, my routine is highly dynamic and depends on immediate client needs, or my day is structured around unexpected operational challenges.
Ah, highly dynamic. That's a great professional way to say every day is different and a little crazy.
Exactly. It makes you sound capable and in control, like you're a problem solver. It's all about choosing the right words to tell your professional story.
Okay, so we've covered what you do and when you do it. Now let's talk about the map, the physical place, and the cultural feeling of where you work.
This is so important, especially now, because the idea of a workplace has changed so much. We need to talk about both the location and the atmosphere.
Let's start with the easy one, location. Where do you actually do your job?
The traditional answer is still very common. You can say, I work in a small office downtown, or I work in a manufacturing plant outside the city. It gives a physical location.
But today, we need the vocabulary for the new ways of working. First up, working remotely from home.
Right. This means you do your entire job from your house. You connect to your team over the internet, and you almost never go into a central office.
And the phrase is just, I work remotely from home. Nice and clear.
Then there's the one that's probably most common now in corporate life, the hybrid job.
A hybrid job, so that's a mix, right?
Exactly. It means you split your time. You might say, I work from home 3 days a week and go to the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So it can be a fixed schedule.
It can be, or it can be more flexible. You could say, I work hybrid. I go in whenever the team needs a face-to-face meeting.
And we can't forget people who don't work in a building at all.
Oh, good point. Like a
Mm.
tour guide or a construction worker.
Yeah. How would they describe their location?
You can just say it directly. I spend most of my workday outdoors. Or, I travel extensively for my job. That paints a very clear picture that's different from an office job.
Okay, so that's the where. Now let's talk about the atmosphere, the feeling, the culture of the workplace. Let's start with formal versus informal.
Understanding this helps someone understand how you communicate and even how you dress. A formal workplace is very structured.
So suits and ties.
Usually, yes,
Uh,
professional clothes. There are often clear rules about everything, especially how you talk to your superiors. Think of a big law firm or a traditional bank,
And the opposite is an informal workplace.
which is much more relaxed. You might wear jeans and a t-shirt. This is often called a business casual dress code. The communication is more direct, less focused on titles. Very common in tech companies or creative fields.
So you could just say, our office is informal and we have a very relaxed culture.
Exactly. And the umbrella term for all of this is corporate culture. That's the values and behaviors of a company. Saying our corporate culture is very collaborative tells me so much.
And a huge part of that culture is the people, your coworkers and your team.
Yes, and if you like them, say it. It's great to hear my coworkers are incredibly supportive and we often help each other.
And if you're really close with your immediate team, you might hear people say something like, I work in a small team and we are like a family.
That's a lovely way to describe a strong, close-knit team.
Yeah.
But we should also talk about the hierarchy, the people above and below you.
Right. Let's quickly break down the difference between a boss, manager, supervisor, and lead. They're not all the same.
They are not. A boss is the most casual, general term. Anyone who you work for can be your boss.
And a manager.
That's more of a formal title. A manager is in charge of a department or a team. They handle things like budgets and hiring.
What about a supervisor?
A supervisor is often more focused on the day-to-day tasks. They're making sure the work gets done correctly and smoothly.
And finally, a team lead.
A lead usually directs the work of the team, but they might not be a manager. They're often the expert who guides everyone else, but they don't handle hiring or firing.
That's a really useful distinction. Okay, let's wrap this section up with some essential workplace vocabulary. These are words everyone should know.
Let's do it.
First, a type of office layout. Open space.
An open space, or open plan office, is just one big room with lots of desks. There are no individual offices. It's meant to be collaborative, but, it can also be pretty noisy.
Okay, next. A word that makes everyone a little nervous. Deadline.
A deadline is simply the time or date when a project must be finished. It's a finish line, and it's usually not something you can change. The key phrase is, I have a tight deadline next Friday.
Tight deadline means you don't have much time.
Exactly. And if you're feeling that pressure, you might say, I'm working overtime to meet the deadline.
Okay, what about the word client?
A client is simply a customer, but it's usually used for businesses that provide services. A lawyer has clients, a graphic designer has clients. And you can have external clients who are outside your company and internal clients who are in another department.
That's a good distinction. And finally, something everyone wants. Flexible hours.
If you have flexible hours, it means you have some choice about when you start and end your workday as long as you work the total number of required hours.
And this is related to another really important concept.
Yes, work-life balance,
Hmm.
which just means having a healthy balance between your job and your personal life, your family, your hobbies, your rest.
So you could say, my company offers flexible hours, which really helps my work-life balance.
That is a perfect, very professional sentence. It shows you value both your work and your well-being.
We've covered the what, the when, and the where. Now let's talk about the more personal side of things, job satisfaction, past experience, and where you're going next.
Right. Let's talk about job satisfaction. I think of this as navigating the tides of your career.
The tides of your career. I like that.
Sometimes the tide is high. You're feeling happy, successful, motivated. And sometimes the tide is low. You might feel stressed or bored. We need words for both.
So let's start with high tide. How do you say you really like your job?
The most important thing is to say why. Don't just say, I like my job. That's a bit boring.
So add a reason.
Yes. Say, I love my job because I get to be creative every day. Or, I like my job because the team spirit is fantastic. The reason makes it real.
And it's also good to talk about the specific best and worst parts, right? It shows a balanced view.
Exactly. For the best part, you can say, I enjoy, and then the activity, the most. So a city planner might say, I enjoy seeing the new construction projects begin the most.
And for the low tide tasks, the parts you don't like so much.
You can say, what I enjoy least is, and then the activity. A teacher, for example, might say, what I enjoy least is the endless paperwork after school hours.
Using those phrases really invites more conversation, doesn't it?
It does. Someone might ask, oh, why is there so much paperwork? And suddenly you're having a real discussion.
Now, what about stress? A lot of jobs are stressful. How do you talk about that without sounding too negative?
You use the it's difficult, but structure. It's so powerful. For instance, my job can be stressful sometimes, but I love the independence I have.
Or, the hours are long, but the pay is excellent. It shows you see both sides of the coin.
It shows maturity. It shows that you understand that no job is perfect.
What if the tide is really low, though? What if you're actively looking for a new job? How do you say that professionally?
You want to focus on the future, not the negative past.
Yeah.
So you'd say something like, I am currently looking for a new opportunity that offers better career progression.
Career progression, that's a great phrase. It means you want a job with a future, a path to move up.
Exactly. You're not saying, I hate my job. You're saying, I'm looking for growth.
Yeah.
It's much more positive.
Okay, now let's look backward on the career journey. Talking about past jobs.
The most important phrase here signals that something is finished. It's, I used to work.
That phrase immediately tells the listener that this is in the past. I used to work in sales, but now I work in marketing.
Yes, and when you talk about those past jobs, don't just list your duties. Talk about what you learned. Talk about your transferable skills.
Transferable skills, those are the skills you can take with you from one job to any other job, right?
Exactly. Like time management or communication. You could say, in my last job, I learned strong time management skills because I had to juggle 5 projects at once.
Or, I learned how to negotiate effectively with vendors to secure better prices. Those skills are valuable anywhere.
They really are. And even if a past job wasn't a great experience, you can frame it as a learning opportunity.
So instead of saying, I was bad at that job,
You say, I realized that my skills were better suited to a team environment, and I learned a lot about my working preferences during that period.
that sounds so much more professional and self-aware.
It shows you learn from every experience, good or bad.
Okay, so that's the past. Let's look to the future. How do we talk about our goals and ambitions?
We can use simple future phrases. In the future, I'd like to eventually manage my own team. Or, my long-term goal is to transition into product management.
This is also where you can talk about learning new skills or upskilling.
Yes. Upskilling just means getting more training to get better at your job. You can say, I want to improve my speaking skills by taking advanced communication courses.
Or, I am focused on learning more about computer programming so I can take on more advanced projects. It shows you're ambitious.
It shows you're invested in your own development.
And what about the big one, the ultimate goal? Your dream job.
The dream job. This is where you can share your passion. It doesn't have to be super realistic. It's about what you would love to do.
My dream job? I think I'd love to run a sustainable coffee farm somewhere tropical, just focus on growing amazing coffee beans. No more scripts.
That sounds incredible. And you see, when you share that, you're sharing a part of your personality, your values.
It's a great way to connect with someone. So, for everyone listening, what's your dream job? Say it out loud right now in English. My dream job is to.
We've spent a lot of time now talking about how to tell your story.
Yeah.
But a good conversation, well, it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. You also need to know how to ask other people about their work. It shows you're interested and, a good listener.
So we have a few key questions that are perfect for this. The first one is the classic, the one we started with.
What do you do?
Simple, direct, everyone knows it. It's the perfect opener.
And after they answer, a great follow-up is, do you like your job?
Yes, it's friendly and casual, and it invites them to talk about their own tide level, whether it's high or low.
And if they mention their company, you can ask, how long have you worked there?
That's a good one. It shows you're interested in their history and their experience with the company.
To get a more interesting answer than just yes or no, I like to ask this one. What's the most interesting part of your job?
Oh, that's one of my favorites. It encourages them to tell a story or share something they're passionate about.
And if you want to understand their daily symphony, as you called it,
You could just ask, what is a typical day like for you? This gives them a chance to describe their routine, just like we've been practicing.
and maybe if you're in a more professional setting, like a networking event, you could ask something a little deeper.
Definitely. You could ask, what kind of challenges are you facing right now? That's a great question because it shows you understand that their work is complex.
Or what kind of skills are essential for success in that field if you're curious about their industry?
These questions are your tools. They help you build a real connection and turn a simple chat into a memorable conversation.
Wow, that was a truly packed conversation. We really went through everything from the most basic introduction, I'm a carpenter, all the way to mapping out your daily routine, the workplace culture, and talking about your entire career journey.
We really did cover the whole map. And for everyone listening, the most important thing to take away isn't just one word or phrase. It's the confidence that knowing these phrases gives you.
That's so true. When you can talk about your work clearly, you just feel better. You feel more professional.
You build better connections and you feel, a sense of pride in what you do. That's the real goal.
And that confidence is what really makes you fluent. Okay, you know what time it is. It is time for our call to action.
Yes, we genuinely want to hear from all of you. Your comments and your feedback are so important to us.
So here's the question for today. What is the one new phrase or concept you learned today that you will use this week to describe your job?
Was it hybrid job? Or maybe transferable skills?
Mm-hmm.
Or how to talk about a tight deadline?
Let us know in the comments below. And if you're feeling a little brave, go ahead and tell us one thing you love most about your job or share what your ultimate dream job is.
Yes, share those high tide goals with the community. We'd love to read them.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this journey into the language of work. Keep practicing, keep making those connections. We'll talk to you again very soon.
See you next time.